Chapter 3. Generator. Felton's hands cramped as he dug his shovel deep into the snow and heaved another good clump off to the side. He paused to catch his breath and check his progress. He could just make out the top of his black SUV completely submerged, thick ice and snow swallowing it and everything else around. A mound next to it signified the top of Carol's truck, with Alex and Sam's vehicles further down the line. The minor trench he had created was just a few feet deep. Felton traced from his car to the road beyond and released a sigh. Even if they managed to dig out the other vehicles, that didn't include the battle to clear a low enough path to drive up on. Not to mention the snow was sure to freeze soon, making an already losing battle even worse.
I don't care!
A voice yelled from inside the lodge.
It's your fucking fault why we're stuck here in the first place!
It sounded like the suit was having another tantrum.
I could be in the next state by now if it wasn't for your ass. Back off her, now.
Felton decided to call it quits for now and made his way back inside. The snow had managed to burst through the doors and into the lobby, submerging all within sight. He had already cleared enough room for them to close again, but the doors didn't seal completely. The furniture of the lobby lay swallowed by the snow, and a few knickknacks clung to the crack-embroiled walls. They were lucky the damage wasn't too extensive. He reached the stairs and climbed up to the diner. "What's going on?" he asked. Sam sighed.
"This damn fool's gonna get his teeth emptied if he keeps yelling at this nice lady, is what's gonna happen."
"Yeah, take your best shot, Gramps." Carol was sitting at one of the booths, hugging herself. Her eyes were glossy and she had a reddened face.
Look, I said I was sorry, okay?
"Sorry, huh?" Alex shot. "Sorry ain't gonna get us out of a fucking avalanche."
"I said cool it, punk,"
Sam yelled. "All right, let's calm down." Felton jumped in. It was clear the moment was getting to everyone. "We need to keep a sound mind if we want to get through this, all right?" "I am calm," Alex spat. He turned his attention to Sam. "Why the hell isn't your phone working? You should be prepared for shit like this." Sam glared back.
"Listen here, buddy. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I can tell you Misty Pass don't get no avalanches."
Alex scoffed and pointed to the window. "Well, newsflash, Pops. It looks like the rules have fucking changed."
"Why, yeah."
Sam rolled up his sleeves. All right, everybody just relax," Felton shouted. He noticed Carol was excessively rubbing her arms. "You all right?" She gave off a sheepish grin and nodded.
"Yeah, I just don't like knowing we're trapped here, stuck in one place with no help."
He nodded. "I know how it looks, but we'll be fine. Can I have you check out the rooms and see what state they're in? Might be good to know we can use any of them. There's no telling how long we're due in. Might as well get to prepping."
"Me?"
"Yeah, you look like you can use the motion, and I think I'd keep your mind off the whole ordeal." She bit her lip and reluctantly nodded. "If none are salvageable, at least collect the sheets and pillows. Sam, can you give her the keys for that?" The old man detached a ring from his belt and handed it off to her. "Darling," he said to Ruth. She was sitting in an adjacent booth to Carol, head on the table. "Might be good for you too. Can you accompany Miss Carol?" Ruth shrugged nonchalantly. "And Sam," Felton continued, "can you man the phone, so you can get through to the sheriff?" He nodded.
"Yeah, I can do that, Felton."
Alex scoffed. "All right, noble leader. What about you?" For a second, the lights from the lamps quickly faded in and out, drawing everyone's attention. "I'm going to have a look at that generator and see what state it's in." Alex smirked. "Knock yourself out, then. I sure as hell ain't going out there." Felton set his jaw. "Fine." He tossed the shovel into Alex's hands. "You get next shift on the cars." Alex threw it down. "I ain't doing shit." Felton quickly closed the gap between them. "Look, I ain't here to play who's got the bigger dick. Everyone here's pulling their weight, and you'll do the same, you hear?" He picked up the shovel and pushed it into Alex's hands. "Now get to it." The suit glared at him. For a second, It looked like he'd object further, but he loosened his tie and grudgingly started to make his way to the stairs.
Hold up, city fellow,
Sam spoke up. Alex halted with an irritated look.
Felton,
Sam said, hobbling over to him.
That old generator is stubborn, always has been. Let me look at her. I know how to work her.
Sam, I don't think you should go out there. The old man sucked his teeth.
Listen here, sonny. I've been doing this way before you knew what pant leg to put where. I'll be fine. I would have called it quits if I didn't think otherwise after all these years.
Felton chuckled. All right, but I'll be nearby. Call out if you need anything.
Oh, don't you worry. I ain't going out there yet. The shack to the generator's probably buried to hell. You're gonna have the suit dig it up. You hear me?
Sam said, glancing over to him. Alex's glare tightened at the news.
While he does that, maybe you can see what you can do about covering those windows. Night'll be here before you know it, and you know evenings around these parts.
Yeah, good thinking. Carol opened the door in the hallway and peeked inside. Immediately she was met with an icy breeze. The room was small and painted with a god-awful blend of baby blue and peach. Yet the queen-size bed looked cozy enough, centered around a dresser and a desk. Glass covered the floor and the bed, while the walls garnished deep cracks like gashes.
Looks like the windows are shattered in this one as well,
she stated, shutting the door.
We'll swing back around and grab the sheets later.
Ruth nodded silently.
So your dad tells me you come up here often to hunt. Yeah, I guess,
Ruth replied, shrugging.
Seems you're used to these parts then,
Carol continued.
Can't imagine how, though. Still can't stand the cold. Probably my fault for moving to a warmer state. But I do love a good cup of joe. Nothing beats having one in this kind of weather.
Ruth simply shrugged again as they made their way to the next door.
It's not so bad once you get used to it. We did do hunting, but it was the tracking I favored the most. Dad always told me it came natural to me. A lot of what he taught me, he only had to do once. Really? Maybe I could have you track down some lip gloss I lost in the car a week ago,
Carol joked. Ruth snickered.
She finally smiles,
Carol noted with a smirk.
Didn't think it was possible. I smile,
Ruth shot back.
Uh-huh.
Carol checked another room.
So how young were you when you started tracking? 8, I think, or 9. I was old enough to know what was going on, at least. I was real big on nature back then, a real tomboy. I'm lucky Dad didn't force dolls down my throat. I wish I had one like yours, Carol noted. Seems like a good man. Any reason you guys stopped hunting till now?
She opened the next room to find a similar state as the last. Ruth pulled a strand behind her ear.
We just stopped for a while is all,
she mumbled, heading to the next door.
Don't really want to talk about it. The innkeeper, Sam, seems to be quite fond of you two as well,
Carol brought up.
Yeah, we've known Sammy for quite some time,
Ruth replied with a smile.
Well, I've known him for all my life. I figured. You mentioned you resemble your mother a lot. You ever bring her up too? Or has this always just been daddy and daughter time?
Ruth halted.
Something wrong?
Carol asked, glancing back. She didn't answer, though, and briskly walked off, leaving Carol dumbfounded. Felton had managed to find a staple gun and started to pin the curtains to block the open windows. In the background, he could hear Sam tinkering with the phone.
Hey, Felton?
Sam said suddenly. Yeah?
I wanted to ask, how you been holding up?
Pretty well. Everything will be fine, Sam, Felton replied, adding another layer of staples for his seal. I'm sure we won't be here for long.
That's not what I mean. I'm talking about after everything that's happened, you know? Janice, I know it's been 6 years and all.
Felton paused from his sealing and sighed. He struggled to find the words for a second. I want to say it's been getting easier, Sam. Yet I'd be lying to you, to myself. Not a day goes by where I don't think about her.
Hell, half the night, I wake up expecting to feel her right next to me, but... Sam nodded.
I understand it, Filton. Same happened with me when Joan passed. I got pretty depressed back then. I even contemplated eating a bullet at one point in hopes of seeing her again. But I knew she never would have wanted that. All I can say is that it will get easier.
Will it, though?
It does if you believe.
Yeah. Toll it's taken on me is one thing, but everything with Ruthie? I know it's affected her more than... shit. Beyond words. I can't even imagine what she's going through, Sam. Hadn't had the heart to ask her either. Sometimes I feel like I failed her as a father.
Filton, she knows you'd do anything for her. Hell, Ruthie, I think understands more than you think. She's a strong gal raised by the both of you. There's nothing I can think of that she can't take on.
Felton smiled. Yeah, she sure as hell is.
But I do gotta ask, you think it's wise to bring her up here? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see both of you and all, but really, why did you come back?
Would you believe me if I said it was Ruthie's idea? Sam chuckled.
Of course it was. That's Janice's stubbornness showing itself in her.
The two laughed heartedly. A second later, Alex slid the curtains to the side and climbed through the window. Cold as reindeer balls out there, he stated, blowing into his hands for warmth as he loudly stomped the snow off of his shoes onto the floor. Sam scowled.
What the hell are you doing in here? Did you finish clearing the damn generator?
Alex shot a salty look. Geez, old man, can I even take a moment to warm my ass? Sam set the phone down.
Looky here, Sonny. If you don't clear that path, we're all freezing our asses off.
Nice to know you're worried about my well-being. And yes, I finished clearing the path.
And how did the generator look?
I don't know, Alex shot back. You told me to just clear the path, and that's what I did.
Why, you couldn't take 2 seconds?
Sam started. Without warning, a deafening screech filled the air. The pitch grew, screeching into a long, studded moan, accompanied by what sounded like a hammer banging against metal. Immediately after, a thunderous boom exploded that shook the room.
Jesus Christ!
Sam yelled, holding his hands to his ears. Another avalanche! Alex cried out in panic. The lamps inside the diner surged with energy to blinding light before quickly cutting to black. In the background, the humming of the ventilation released a sickening dry cough and then dwindled down to silence. Instantly, the windows seemed to suck out the lingering heat, replacing it with a chilly wind. Felton stuck his head out to see a thick cloud of smoke billowing from the back of the lodge. Son of a... Sam, the generator's smoking! He immediately hopped out of the frame, feeling his boots sink slightly into the rigid snow. Sam and Alex followed, all trekking ahead. It was a difficult task to walk straight, each step forcing an exaggerated lift forward, and even harder with the wind mocking their efforts to maintain their balance. As Felton approached, he recoiled at the singe of musty smoke which forced its way up his nose and to the back of his throat. A small shack ahead was connected to the rear of the lodge. The wide trench Alex carved could be seen leading up to its door. The black smoke continued to filter out of the top like a chimney, adding a hint of ash to the snow around.
What the hell did you do?
Sam yelled to Alex.
I didn't do shit! You told me to dig a fucking path to the door, and that's what I did! That's it! You obviously did more than that.
Fuck you, old man! Alright, quiet the both of you! Felton roared. Right now we need to check out what the problem is instead of pointing the finger.
Don't bother, Sam interjected. Best let the smoke filter out a bit.
He took a moment to spit in the snow.
God blame it.
So what does this mean? Alex questioned. The generator would be fine eventually, right? You said it's always been stubborn, right? Sam ran his hands through his hair.
Don't know. They never had a flood of snow to deal with in the past. Could be something worse.
Sam, I gotta look at it, Felton brought up again. We need to assess the damage now if there is any. Smoke may never clear up in time. Check the horizon. Every second counts. The old man noted it and sighed.
You know what you're looking for? Seen a few generators in my life. Once you seen one,
Sam chuckled.
Here then.
He handed Felton the scarf. He nodded, wrapped it around his mouth, and entered the shack. Most of the smoke had cleared, but the remaining smog immediately stung his eyes, the scarf doing little to block it for his mouth. He could feel the tickle at the back of his throat grow as he fought the urge to cough. Inside, he noted the machine which stood tall, reaching his chest. Its outside casing was rusted in many areas with tubes and cables running amok like wild hair. No doubt it had been around for many decades, clearly past its expected lifespan. That was Sam for you. He'd hauled the corpse of a dog if it meant keeping it around. Felton began his check, opting to look for the fuel first. He found the cab, which opted to be stubborn before conceding, and peeked inside. The levels looked fine. He could vaguely see the line where the liquid reached. Fuel wasn't the issue. He decided to check the cables and followed one to the back. Immediately, he froze at its side. He found a large gaping hole.
"What the hell?"
he whispered. Pieces of its hull were torn in several directions like a deep gash on a prey animal. He also noticed that something was sticking out of one of those edges. He reached over and attempted to grab it, but the blasted pieces, whatever it was stubborn to get loose. It took several pulls until he could reel it free. Felton tried to make it out in the smoke, but he couldn't, ultimately shoving it into his pocket. Right when he did, a drop of oil splashed into the snow, which drew his attention. He glanced down to see a puddle inside of a small dip. His eyes widened as he crouched to get a better look. It was a footprint. A trail of them, to be exact. But they didn't appear to be human. They almost resembled a deer's hoof. Strangely, the pattern was off. Instead of a set of 4 prints for a deer's, there was only 2. He followed them and found that they led back to the entrance.
Felton, you all right in there?
Sam called out.
Come on out, you shouldn't be smoking that long.
He nodded to himself and exited. Once out, he couldn't hold back the cough anymore, as he took in the clean air.
How bad is it?
It took several more seconds before his coughing started to subside. As it did, Felton's eyes returned to the ground, noticing the tracks as they curved around the shack.
Felton, you all right? That's how bad was it in there?
Noting the tracks lead to the distant tree line where some of the forest managed to survive. Real bad, he finally answered. It's a lost cause, Sam. Generator's toast. He paused to cough for a few more seconds. Sam cursed under his breath. Something got in there, Felton continued, and gutted the damn thing to hell.
Something? What do you mean, something?
I don't know, Sam. Something. It went to town on that generator.
What was it? A raccoon? A possum?
Sam noted Felton's eyes, still gazing at the ground.
What the hell are you looking at?
The trail of prints, Felton brought up, pointing to them. They were inside, led to the generator and back out.
And so? I'm not following you, Felton.
I think whatever made them might have... Alex crouched near the tracks. I'm no expert in wildlife, but these look like deer prints. You're not suggesting that was it, are you? How the hell does a deer tear up a generator? Sam scoffed.
Ain't no way.
He hobbled over to look. As they both studied them, Felton's eyes suddenly flashed, remembering the piece he found wedged in the side. He fished the object out of his pocket and held it up to the light. He had to blink several times before taking another look. His mind couldn't comprehend what he was gazing at. The object resembled a talon, but it felt and looked like it had been torn from a tree. It was like wood had been carved into a talon.
What's that?
Sam asked, noting it. It's... I don't know. Found it in the generator where it was gutted. What do you make of it? He handed it to Sam. Felton didn't know what to think. Maybe he was just seeing things in the object, adding paranoia where it didn't need to be. He found that he was holding his breath as the old man held it up to inspect. Sam sucked his teeth again.
Possum tailing,
He concluded.
like I thought. Damn things.
Sam, I don't think...
Trust me, Felton, it's a possum. Damn critters are around here. It's only a matter of time till they find their way in. Can't complain too much, though. I'd say I did pretty good for 15 years, wouldn't you say?
You ever seen a wooden tailing, though? Felton brought up.
It ain't wooden, Felton. It's dirty is what it is. That's how animals are. You see, this is what happens when you're out of the game for too long.
Let me see that, Alex said. However, Sam quickly tossed it away before either of the two could object anymore. What the hell? You don't think it looked wooden? Felton pressed. Like it was carved out of a branch?
Eh?
The old man's face twisted into a puzzled look. Seeing this, Felton sighed. Forget it. You're probably right. Possum. Sam nodded and started to make his way back. Alex did a quick scan for the item before he gave up and started to follow. Felton was about to do so too until something caught his ear. In the distance, he heard what sounded like faint whispers. They were soft, hiding just under the wind. His stomach tightened. He could feel that familiar sensation growing in the pit of it, that cold emptiness. He was hesitant to check, but his body seemed to turn on its own. He cautiously scanned the area into the horizon. All the while, the whispers continued. His eyes drifted in the direction where the footsteps led to the trees in the distance. The emptiness seemed to grow stronger from it. The whispers, too, sounding as if each was fighting to speak over the other. They were endlessly repeating that word again. Yet, he still couldn't tell what it was. As they grew in volume, the surrounding sounds were swallowed greedily. Felton paralyzed again. He couldn't move no matter how hard he tried, too drawn in by the voices. As they continued, he thought he caught the word. It was very brief. Maga. What did it mean?
Hey, Felton, you coming?
Sam's voice called out.
It's gonna get dark soon. We should make final preps.
Instantly the whispers ceased along with the feeling in his stomach. Felton shivered from the cold, feeling as if the blood in his very veins had thawed. He blinked several times, finally able to move his limbs again. It felt as if he'd been frozen alive, yet not at the same time. It was hard for him to describe. After another quick scan of the tree line, he nodded to Sam and turned to follow the others. Chapter 4. Porcelain. Carol awoke to an icy chill. She shivered out of impulse, forcing several puffs of white mist to escape her lips. She sat up, noting she was on the floor of the dining room. She was all alone. The tables, the chairs, and even the entire ground was all laid with a good inch of snow. The staples of the curtains to the windows had come undone, allowing the wind to enter unchallenged. "Hello?" she called out softly. There was no answer aside from the wind's hollow cry, which summoned another shiver from her.
Felton? Sam?
Nothing.
Hello?
Carol jumped to her feet. Instantly, she ran behind the counter, propping open the door to the kitchen. Despite being closed, a thin layer of snow had managed to cover everything in there as well.
Sam?
She called out. The kitchen wasn't very big. She could see in between the shelves at the center through the other side. The room was absent of anyone. Carol left it and ran to the stairs leading to the lobby. The entire area was still submerged in snow.
Anyone! Where the hell is everyone?
She thought. She ran back to the diner and was startled to find Ruth suddenly standing near the window, looking outside nonchalantly.
Ruth?
She said softly.
What's going on? Where is everyone?
She remained quiet, though. Carol slowly approached, noting the snow had accumulated under the sill on the verge of spilling inside.
Ruth, are you okay? I can't stop dreaming of this place. She suddenly spoke out. It's like she won't let me forget.
Carol was puzzled.
What are you talking about? Where's your dad and the others? She wants me to remember.
Ruth went on, ignoring her questions.
Oh, this is the strongest the dreams have ever felt.
Carol shivered as she approached her. She couldn't see how Ruth could stand so close to the open window without being affected by the cold front.
Ruth, honey, let's get you away from that window, okay?
She said, tugging on her arm. Ruth glanced at her to reveal a bluish-purple face, her lips dry and crusted.
Oh my God, you're freezing! Get away from the window!
She quickly reeled her back from it, pressing her hand to Ruth's face. It was like ice.
What the hell are you doing standing out in the cold? Where's your father?
Ruth gave her a puzzled look.
I've never shared these dreams with anyone before. Honey, why do you keep saying that? This isn't a dream.
Suddenly a sharp snap of wood drew their attention. Carol quickly scanned the room, but it was still empty.
What was that? Was it the others?
Ruth shook her head.
No, it's her.
Carol shot her an unsettling look.
This isn't funny anymore, Ruth.
The same snap of wood surfaced again in response from further back in the lodge. It sounded like someone was casually splitting a bale of twigs. Carol's heart started to pick up. She grabbed Ruth's hand and cautiously moved towards the sound. She tried to tread softly, but she couldn't stop her shivering. Her entire body was becoming numb now. Even her teeth began to chatter. It felt like the very heat was being reeled from her at an alarming rate. She paused at the corner that branched to the hallway of the lodging rooms. She was about to turn. A soft coo filled the air that caused her heart to skip a beat.
Who's there?
Carol forced out, feeling her lip quiver. Every strand of hair felt erect. There was no reply, only the same minor stepping of wood. She glanced back at Ruth, who looked in a daze. She didn't seem disturbed by any of this. On full pins and needles, Carol took a second to compose herself before she peeked around the corner. The hallway was empty, covered in the same film of snow like everything else. An eerie feeling settled in her stomach. Her senses were telling her to run, to not pursue, but something else prompted her to continue onward. She crept down the passage, fighting the urge to shiver uncontrollably. She came near the first door on the left. She heard it again. The cooing. She swallowed, placing her hand on the handle. Once again she took in a deep breath and turned it. The door gradually opened to reveal the back of a figure facing the window. Carol recoiled, ready to pull the door closed until it spoke.
Wait,
it said softly, forcing her to halt. The voice sounded like it belonged to a young girl. The figure was shrouded in an aura of white, vaguely obscured. It turned around, confirming a face of a young girl who appeared to be near the age of Ruth. Carol was in awe at her appearance. Was she an angel? Her face was flawless, with skin as pale as snow, if not winter, accented by a kiss of red on her cheeks. Her eyes were unblinking, radiating as they cycled through random hues of blue like a kaleidoscope. Her gaze alternated between Carol and Ruth. Long brown locks of hair cascaded down her face like a river of chocolate, falling over her bare chest. Oddly, her head was fitted with 2 small antlers. The girl's pink lips parted into a smile to reveal a set of ivory, jagged teeth.
It is time,
she said softly with a voice layered as if 3 unseen others had spoken in unison with her.
She'll wait no more for you.
Carol was speechless. She noticed the girl was looking at Ruth and managed to find her voice.
Who?
The smile widened on her.
Mother.
she said, holding up a hand which released a sickening crack.
Come, Ruth.
Instinctively, Ruth began to walk forward, slowly extending her own hand. Carol immediately yanked her back. As she did, the light finally diminished from the girl's form, allowing her to fully see the being. Carol's eyes fell upon the girl's hand first, and instantly her stomach tightened. The thing was far from being an angel. Her, or rather its torso, was human-like, but its lower half was composed of wood, as if its legs had been carved out of a tree. Sharp, jagged pieces stuck out at odd angles with roots in the mix, bits of dirt clinging to the few of the edges as it became two hooves. The skin on its shoulders formed down into a twisted layer of wood, its hands fitted with large, jagged talons for fingers. Its hand remained stretched out, the calmness still in its smile. What frightened Carol more than anything was the urge to take it regardless.
What the hell are you?
She stammered, feeling the cold sap the last of the heat within her.
Mother awaits her children,
it retorted, ignoring her.
None may reject the call when chosen.
Chosen? What was she talking about? Carol thought. And who was this mother? Her words left Carol confused for a few seconds before she finally shook the thought away. Fuck what it all meant. They needed to leave. Immediately. Carol tried to move her legs first, but they wouldn't respond. It was like every inch of her joints were locked up, too numb to obey. When she glanced down, she noted her hands were now sickly dark blue. She still had a little feeling in them, though. The creature took a step forward, releasing sickening snaps from its legs, sounding as if the entire body would collapse. It then took another, its face frozen in that perfect smile, its piercing eyes never once blinking still. As it drew closer, Ruth raised her hand again.
Ruth, what the hell are you doing? Stay the fuck away from that thing!
None may reject the call when chosen, Ruth replied in a monotone voice. Carol could feel her trying to move towards the creature.
No, Ruth!
She tried pulling her back, but somehow the young girl's strength seemed to dwarf her own, slowly pulling away from her. Carol noticed the damn thing kept edging its way closer. All the while, she found it hard to peel her eyes away from its porcelain face with those eyes, ones that seemed to fuel the tundra spreading within her. She opted to direct her focus into lifting her legs, but they were so heavy like foreign objects attached to her body. The thing grew closer. She couldn't focus while its gaze was upon her and decided to shut her eyes. Carol poured every ounce of willpower into her legs, repeating the command to move them. For a second, she vaguely felt one move. She continued until one foot slowly dragged against the snow.
Yes,
she thought.
Just a little bit more.
She continued to slowly drag it. It was tingling as if it had fallen asleep. However, she misplaced it, losing her balance and fell onto the floor. The snow powdered over her body like the rush of cold water, adding insult to her already chilled form. Ruth managed to stay up, still holding out her hand. Carol couldn't let her leave with that thing. With only her arms still under control, she mustered up all of her strength to pull herself across the floor. If she could just grab Ruth's ankle or even a piece of her clothing. In a failed effort, she was only able to reel a handful of snow.
Ruth, don't! Run, damn it!
She yelled. None may reject the call when chosen, Ruth repeated. At that moment, Ruth's earlier words dawned on Carol. She mentioned this was a dream. Was that truly the case? What else did she have to hold on to? She had no other options. She closed her eyes and began speaking out loud.
Come on, Carol. Wake up! Wake the fuck up! Wake up! Come on, wake up!
Carol's eyes opened. She was back in the dining room, except now it was dark,
lit by several lanterns placed arbitrarily atop tables on the floor. The snow that covered everything was now gone. Even the windows were back to being sealed off. All the furniture had been pushed up against the wall to allow the layout of blankets and pillows.
It really was a dream,
she thought, feeling relief wash over her.
All of it.
Carol found that she was bundled in a blanket near the wall. Even so, her mind desperately tried to convince herself she was still in that half-frozen state. She even could feel the urge to shiver out of impulse, but her body didn't feel cold. It was just a dream, she assured herself.
Come on, Ruth, wake up for us, darling.
That voice, it was Felton's. She glanced over to see him along with Alex near an unconscious Ruth. She was propped up against the wall, being shaken by her dad, but her eyes remained shut. That's when she noticed Ruth's face. It was like in the dream, slightly blue with sickly purple lips.
Shit, Sam, where the hell's that hot towel?
Felton yelled out, adding another blanket over her. A second later, Sam came running out with a steaming towel. He quickly passed it off, and Felton immediately began dabbing it across Ruth's face.
Come on, baby, wake up for us. You're gonna be okay, you hear?
Felton? Carol started. Her voice sounded so raspy.
What's going on?
To her surprise, he managed to hear her among all the commotion.
Carol, everything's gonna be okay, you hear? Just give me a minute and I'll get this all sorted out.
But... She was about to protest when she felt it. Underneath the covers, something cold was in her hand. She slowly pulled it out, and to her surprise, she found a lump of snow melting in her palm.